Alright everybody, it's a long-awaited video. We're going to be making gum paste roses. Look at those. Wow, those are pretty. Can't believe I made those. Alright, we're going to start. We start with the wire, 18 gauge wire. Cut those long wires down to about 6 or 7 inches so you can work with it. Just cut those all the way you need to. And then, oh, let's go to these. These are my petal rests. I make those with clay, or some of them are made with silicone. And I'm sorry, I chipped a nail. My thumbnail looks hideous. My cuticles are hideous. Just overlook that. Anyhow, I make those with the shape of a soup spoon. The soup spoon, the reason I use these that I make is because the soup spoons leave a line if you're not very careful. So I just make a bunch of these. They last forever. Once you make them, you probably won't have to make them again. See that soup spoon? I just have a lump of clay, put the shape of the spoon on it, smooth out the edge so it doesn't leave a line in the petal, and boom, Bob's your uncle. Alright, back to these. So I got like a 2.5 centimeter or a 1 inch teardrop rose petal center styrofoam. I'm creating a hole in that so that we can use some hot glue. Alright, and we're just filling that with a little hot glue. A little dab will do ya. Alright, and then we're going to stick that 18 gauge wire in there. There's no need to curl the end of that. That hot glue is pretty sturdy stuff. We're just going to repeat that for as many roses as we need. I buy those styrofoam teardrops in bulk. I have about 3,000 of them. So I just make a bunch because I know I'm going to use them. Alright, we got some homemade gum paste here. I'm going to open it up. We're going to knead that until it's pliable. Look at that stretch. Wow. Okay, so we're kneading it even more. Make it good and pliable. Look at that. Woo! What a stretch. I'm going to color it up just a touch. We're making some yellow roses with this batch for a cake. Alright. Getting it good and colored. And of course we're going to have a gradient color scale. And the center is going to be a little darker. The outer edges are going to get lighter as they go out. So just bear with me as I color this up. I just make one darker color and then I add a little bit to some white and make it lighter as it goes. Alright, we're going to roll this out so it fits in a pasta machine roller. Roll it down to number 3, and then we're going to, or a 5, depending on which roller, about 1 millimeter thick. And then I'm going to use a 2.5 centimeter or 1 inch petal cutter, and then the next size up to 5 sizes. So we're going to need 5 petals for the center. 5 petals of that smallest cutter. Cut those out and put them under some plastic or in a plastic bag so they don't dry out. The second one we need 5 petals. The second cutter size up, 5 petals also. And then the third one we're gonna need 2 petals. And the fourth one we need 3 petals, and then the fifth one we're gonna need 5 or 6 petals. I like to do 6. I like a big full bloom. Alright, so we're going to start with the center of these. Take your ball tool on foam pad, Really smooth out those edges, really soften them up, make them paper thin. It's okay if you ruffle them a little bit, just smooth it out with your fingers, it'll be fine. Now you take a little cell pen, roll it up like a ice cream cone, like a waffle cone. Make sure that it's not sticking to itself though. You want it to roll up and kind of keep its shape, but you don't want it to stick to itself. If it does, it's not cool. So now we're using a little gum glue. We're just gonna dab a little bit on the inside of that curl and down to the point. Take our little teardrop, slide it in there, and then the second petal you'll want to mirror the first petal, sliding those curls into each other, just like that right there. Alright, see that? Look at that. Now we're going to add a little more gum glue to the edge there, and then we're gonna secure it onto the teardrop, and that will be the center rosebud. How about that? Couldn't get any easier, could it? Alright. I hope you're watching because I don't explain very well. Just make sure it looks the way you want it. There's no really wrong way to do this because all the roses in nature look a little different. Alright, now we got that secured. We're going to move on to the second row of petals. Look at that. How cute. Alright. So we're going to need 3 of the same size petal. The first petal cutter, we need 3. And that will complete your first 5 petals that you cut. Soften those edges, make them paper thin. If you get a little ruffly, just smooth it out with your fingers. Alright. Now we're going to use a little toothpick, and we're just going to barely curl those edges, just barely curl the edges outward, the top of the petal. Just a slight touch. Look at that, I even did a slow motion for you. How about that? Alright, now we're going to do some gum glue. On your first one, just go down one side, and then the other 2 go down and make a V. That first one, you don't want both sides glued because you need to tuck the last petal into that side, and then you can glue it down. Alright, position it on there just slightly above the center. Make sure it just goes slightly above. Secure the second petal. Alright, secure the third petal in the position you want. And now we're going to add a little gum glue to that first petal and wrap it around, secure it into place. And then you can shape your petals any way you want. Make sure they're the way you like. Look at that. We're getting somewhere now. And that's a perfectly acceptable little rosebud. Pop a little calyx on it, or just dust a little green paint around the base. Alright, so now our second size petal, we're going to need 5. Remember, we cut 5 of the second size, and of course you're going to soften those edges Once again, making them paper thin. If they get a little ruffly, just smooth it out with your fingers, just like that. And continue that for all 5 of those. And you don't have to do all 5 at once. If you're not that fast, you can just do 1 or 2 at a time. Alright, and these get a little bit more curl than the second row. Just a touch more curl. Make them all nice and natural looking. Look at that. Just play with it. Make it look good. You know, there's going to be some damage. You want just a touch of damage on some of these petals, just to make them look more realistic. Alright, first one, just do one side. The rest of them, make the V with the glue. Just a touch of glue. You don't want too much. You do not want too much of that glue. Just enough to make it stick. Alright, the first petal, I like to tuck them in a little bit. And I want it to be just a hair above the other petal, the second row of petals. Shape it as you go. Look at that. Couldn't be any easier. Tuck it in. I like to tuck it in. You do not have to tuck it in, but I like to tuck it in wherever I can. Look at that. Oh man, we're getting somewhere now. Alright. That last petal, get it in place. And we're going to add a little more gum glue to that first petal that we added. And secure it in, and we'll probably shape those petals just a little more once we get that secured. I may need to add a little, yeah, I do. I'm going to add a little glue right there. It wasn't sticking just where I wanted it. Look at that. Alright, secure it. Make sure all the petals are secure. There's no petals part sticking out. Make sure it's all glued. And look at that. Alright. That's what it should look like, or similar. I'm shaping it. You want every petal to be different. You want every rose to look different. Alright, so now, how we did 1, the center, 2, then 3. Now this is the 4th row. So it gets the 3rd size petal cutter. And I had a little incident there. I had to cut a little gum paste off. And that's fine. So this is the 4th row. The 3rd size petal cutter. And now we're going to use a veiner. I put a little, just a touch of shortening on there. Keep it from sticking too much. We're going to press it pretty good in there. Get some good veining going on. And that is actually a David Austin rose veiner. You can use any veiner that you like. I really like the way this one turns out. Now we're going to put these on a petal rest. We went over those petal rests earlier. We want to par dry these because they're pretty big and we don't want gravity to win on this. We want gravity to work with us. Alright. I'm going to do another. I'm making more than 1 rose, so we're going to go over this part one more time. Shaping those as I go. Put them on the petal rests, let them par dry. See that? It's made out of clay. Place it on. Get that concave shape. And form it the way you like. Look at that. Could not be any easier. Give it a little pinch here and there. Alright. Now those are par dried, so we're going to go ahead and add the glue to both sides of these because they're going to be opposite of each other. They're not going to overlap. Place it on there. If you can tuck it in, tuck it in. If not, it's not the end of the world. I like it just a little higher, just a little bit higher, or even with it. Now you want these not to be completely dry. You want to be able to manipulate it after it's added, just in case it isn't the correct shape for you. Alright, now we're going to move on to the 4th size petal cutter. Oh no, we're going to do 2 more petals. That's the second petals. Second set of petals that I'm doing. Okay. Find a good spot for that. That looks pretty good. Do a little slow-mo, let you see that. Alright, so now we're moving to the 4th size petals, and we're going to need 3 of those. Once again, you're going to soften those edges paper thin. Any ruffles, just kind of smooth them out. If you damage these petals, it is totally fine. Alright, we're going to use a petal veiner again. And you do not have to do all 3 at once. You can do 1 at a time if you're not that fast, so that they don't dry out. And then once you get the hang of it, you can do all of them at once, just like this. Get our petal rests. Shape these petals the way you like. And you want these to have a little more curve outwards, so place it on just a little, slightly over the edge, a little more than the last bunch that we did. If you notice, each of my petal rests is a different shape, and that really helps to create different shaped petals. Alright, those have par dried. We're just going to remove them. They're still a little malleable. They're not completely dry. Alright, look at that. See that shape? You want it to be curved a little more than the last bunch you put on. Alright, we're just going to put glue on all of these. About 1/3 of the way up. You don't want to glue that whole petal down. You want there to be some breathing room. Okay, now we're going to add those. Find a good spot. Oh, right there. I found a spot to tuck it in. Look at that. How about that? Now these, you're going to need a wire or a flower hanger. You're going to bend the end of that wire and hang it upside down because these will sag and droop if they're not hung upside down. The petals are so big and heavy. Alright, so bend that wire. Well, actually we're making sure that it's looking the way we want before we bend that wire. Now we bend it, hang it upside down. We're going to do this other bunch so you can see that again. And remember, we're making 2 roses, that's why we're repeating it twice. Find a good spot. Do this upside down because your petals might want to fall off. And whenever I'm putting that rose over to the side, I'm looking at it, making sure that it's in the right spot before I tack it completely down. Alright, so the next size. Alright, the next size. So we're going to do 3 petals at a time. Going to shape those the way we want. You want these to hang over even more than the last row because the petals are bigger. You want them to be opened up more. So I'm hanging it about halfway off over the edge of that petal rest. Making sure it's shaped just the way I want it. I'm reshaping these. Now I'm happy with it. Alright, they're par dried, and look at that curve. Well, they are really, really curved. Nice and bloomy. Alright, we're going to add our petal glue, gum glue. Just on the 1/3 or 1/4. Not too much. You don't want them sliding around and melting. Get that glue added. Grab our flower from the hanger. Find a good spot. Just barely tack it. You don't want to press too hard. You want to be able to move it if you have to. And we will press and secure it once we get it into place the way we like. See there, how to move that one? Check it out, make sure it's good. Find a spot for that last one. Check it out, make sure it's good. Now we're pressing it into place. Just the way we want it. We're going to cup it with our hand. We're going to look at it and make sure. Look at that. All right. That's awesome. All right, we're going to do that one more time with the number 5 sized petal cutter. Soften those edges, get them paper thin, do a little damage, make them look weathered like Mother Nature would do. We're going to press in some veins. Alright. Get them good and pressed. Now these, on the petal rest, we're going to hang these, gosh, almost 2/3 off of the petal rest. We're going to curl these out really well with the toothpick because those last petals are usually pretty curled. Get a nice curl. Do some pinching if you want. Alright. We're really going to the extreme on that petal rest, hanging it over the edge. Shape it the way you think it should look. And it really is all up to how you want your rose to look. If you want all the petals to be perfect, that's totally fine. Look at the degree of angle and curve on those petals. Alright, now we're going to add those to the flower that we had hanging. Put it in the position that you want. Add your other petal. Making sure it's where you want before you completely press down. Let's make sure. Look at that. Wow. Alright. That rose is done. Oh, there's my puppy. He says thanks for watching. He says goodbye. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Some more roses. Those are our finished products on the cake. How about that? Oh, there I am, putting the cake together on site, adding the flowers. Isn't that beautiful? Look at those roses. Wow. Those are some orange roses. That was a stunning, simple, elegant wedding cake. Bye.